We have a rattlesnake problem to deal with. There's even an area in there called Rattlesnake Gulch. They're so prevalent in the area. So we have a lot of things to be concerned about for our firefighters today. Our number one priority is to keep them safe.
Yeah, this was a surprising thing to hear this morning from Mark Techmeyer with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office as he was giving us an update on the Quarry Fire.
Yeah, of all the things the crews have to deal with, there's rattlesnakes as well. Brian Acone is the Chief Conservation Officer with the Denver Zoo Conservation Alliance. He joins us now on the phone. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us. I think this caught a lot of people off guard. Of course, we expected to hear about tough terrain and, of course, the weather out there really impacting crews. But as far as rattlesnakes go, I don't think, to a lot of people's surprise, maybe they even realized that there were a lot of them in that area.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually quite a few prairie rattlesnakes up and down the Front Range here, particularly in the foothills. And so what I believe is probably happening in Rattlesnake Gulch is that there's probably a rattlesnake den. So they den over winter. And a lot of places that are named rattlesnake something tends to be because there's a den. And so at certain times of year, you see a lot of them because they're coming out of the den and coming out for the summer and spring and fall season to go forage. But they do disperse from there. And so they go out, out into the wilderness and do their thing all summer long and then come back in the fall. So while there's probably high prevalence at some times of the year, right now there's probably good dispersal, but fires certainly can make them move. Usually they're going to try and go underground, but they can also move out. But it's something that I think firefighters likely have to deal with anytime they are fighting fires, particularly in the foothills here.
Brian, this is really interesting. So talk a little bit about their behavior this time of year and how they react to fires now. You're saying that they can go underground, but, with a fire like this, talk about what they're doing now.
Well, they're certainly, if they're in the near vicinity of fire, they are certainly aware of it, and they are probably either retreating or, finding shelter. So they know their habitat very well. They know their home ranges, and they know where their spots are that they can get underground, all of those things. So they're very familiar with all of that, and so they're probably heading there. When a fire moves super fast upon them, they're going to retreat just like other animals are because it may be too quick for them to get somewhere. But they're going to likely try and find shelter, let the fire burn through, and come back out.
Brian, when you're out hiking, of course, you are prepared to maybe see one. You're talking about a den of rattlesnakes potentially in that area. How many snakes are typically part of a den?
It certainly varies, but there could be a couple hundred that live in that den. But again, they come back there for the winter. That's where they hibernate, basically. So they're not going to be hanging out at that den. They don't use that as their home base during the summertime because you've got so many animals. You've got to disperse back out into the landscape to ensure that they each find enough food and mates and everything without significant competition if they were to stay near the den. So there should not be significant numbers at the den at this point in time. But it could be, up to 100 snakes. There's some dens in areas. I don't think it would be up in the foothills here because there's just not enough resources. But, there are some dens out there in the plains and stuff that could have, 500 snakes in them as an example.
As if firefighters didn't have enough to deal with, they have this on top of it. Brian with Denver Zoo, thank you so much for joining us this morning and giving us some insight.
No problem. Have a good day.